Hello, my name is Tina. I'm head of design of VectoriaDesigns, and especially for those of you who loved our Dragon Destiny kit, we have another dragon-themed crafting printables kit for you, the Dragon Treasure Kit. And for this kit we had dragon illustrations made exclusively for VectoriaDesigns. You won't find them anywhere else. In this kit you can find 24 journal pages, 15 sheets with embellishments and 20 full papers. In this video Katja will show you from scratch how to make the interactive album, the little journal and the box that she made with these printables. Katja has her own YouTube channel, Lunar Sun Creations, where you can find a lot more of these album tutorials and card tutorials and more. You can find the link to her channel below. And if you would like to make this project yourself with the printables of our Dragon Treasure Kit, you can find more information about that kit below as well. And now I'm giving the word to Katja. Enjoy crafting!
Hello everyone, I am Katja with Lunar Sun Creations and welcome to the mini album tutorial using the Dragon Treasure Crafting Printables Kit by VectoriaDesigns. I'm happy to be collaborating with VectoriaDesigns on this project. I'm just going to quickly go through the materials we'll need. I'll quickly go through the papers and then we'll get started. So you will need, of course, your cardstock. I'm going to be using just an 80-pound black cardstock. I used just over 20 sheets of the 8.5 by 11, and then you will also need a couple 12 by 12. Highly recommended, but not absolutely necessary, is a Tyvek envelope or something that is non-rippable. A couple sheets of a medium weight chipboard for the covers. You'll need your paper trimmer, some score tape and or wet adhesive. I'm going to be using a conjunction of both. Some scissors, some brads for your swing tabs. Few sets of magnets. I use 10mm by 1mm disc magnets. They're very strong. And then your scoreboard with a scoring tool, bone folder and scoring tool. Not absolutely necessary, but I like to ink all the edges of my pages using a vintage photo distress ink and a ink dauber with the rounded blending foam. Okay, and then the papers. So I've already cut into some of them, so they're not full sheets anymore, but the package comes with quite a few beautiful cut aparts. So I've already cut quite a few of them apart, but there's many pages of those. You can use these as embellishments, swing tabs, etc. Okay, and then there are some journaling cards. They are in multiple sizes. So they come in this size, really gorgeous graphics on them. So for a small little journal, or you could cut them apart and use them for in your pockets, etc. Then there is these ones. I printed these out. I printed one set out on just a plain printer paper, double-sided, to make into a journal. And then I also printed some out on 8.5 by 11 cardstock. And then there's also, so these are a full, there's just a slight border, so almost 8.5 by 11. Then there's also some full-size sheets of patterned paper. So they're a little bit out of order. There's some more of the journaling parts. You'll see more of them as we go through the tutorial, so I won't go through all of them right now, but some really gorgeous designs. Okay, and then I also went to the printers and enlarged the journal pages to fit on an 11 by 17 inch sheet. This is definitely not necessary. I just wanted a few bigger pieces for, I'm creating a box as well to put the album in. Okay, so a few of those, but you don't have to do that. You can use just the 8.5 by 11. Alright, so I'm going to get all of this out of the way and then we will start working on our album. Okay, I'm going to be giving you all the measurements in inches, but I will write on the screen what they are in centimeters. So you're going to need to cut 4 pieces of cardstock that measure 7.5 by 9.5 inches. And we are going to score each of these at half on the 9.5 inch side. Okay, and then for the binding, you might as well do this while we have our scoreboard out. You'll need a piece of cardstock that is 2.5 inches by 9 inches. And if you have Tyvek, cut another piece of Tyvek at those same measurements. And we're going to score this on the 2.5 inch side. We're going to score it at 3/4, 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and 1 3/4. Okay, now put your scoreboard away for a moment, but keep your bone folder out. And for the base pages, we are going to put some score tape on the valley side. So when you score a piece of cardstock, it creates an indent, so that's called the valley. The raised edge we call the mountain. Okay, so in most cases you'll be putting the adhesive on the valley side, so the indented side. In most cases. If there is a case where that is not so, I will let you know. So we're going to do that to all 4 pieces. Okay, and then we are going to fold on those score lines and crease it with your bone folder. Okay, and then we are going to take our scissors and just cut off just a tiny bit, just miter the corners of each one. So we're cutting off at an angle from where the score line is off to the edge of the paper. So we're going to do that to all 4 of them. This just creates a cleaner fold. It's just if you miss this step at any point in time, it's not the biggest deal. It's more aesthetics than anything. Okay, we're going to get rid of our biddies there. And now we are going to adhere these together like this to form kind of like a tube. Okay, so I'm going to remove the tape backing. Now I'm going to use wet adhesive as well. You don't have to do this. If you have a really good double-sided tape, then you can just use that. But I do like to use a combination. Okay, so I'm going to adhere that to one side. So I'll do one side at a time. Okay, and then remove the tape backing from this side. Okay, and then you've got something that looks like that. So do the same with the other 2 pieces. Okay, like that. So now you've got two that have an opening like that, our pages are actually going to sit like this. One side will remain open, and then the other side will slip onto our binding. So let's take our binding and we're going to crease all of those score lines. So folding them, turning like the indent, you're going to fold away from the indent. And then use your bone folder to crease each of those. Okay, so put some double-sided tape or wet adhesive on one side. It's easier to do double-sided tape first, and then we're going to put the Tyvek on the back side, and then put a strip of double-sided tape on either side again, so it's on both sides of the binding piece, but not in the center. Okay, and then we are going to put our pages onto this. So one of the pages is going to sit like this, and then the other page will sit right here, okay? So I'm going to take the adhesive off one side and then add some wet adhesive and do the same for the other side. Okay, so I've got score tape and wet adhesive on both sides, and now we are going to slide it into the opening of one of our pages, right up to the score line, but not going over it. Okay, so there's one. Now we'll do the same with the other one. Now I use the score tape and the wet adhesive for two reasons. So the score tape over time can lose its adhesion, and your album can come apart. I mean, it takes a while, but it could happen over time. So the wet adhesive is a little bit stronger and will last longer. But if you use wet adhesive by itself, I'm just impatient and I don't like to wait for it to dry. So the score tape makes it so that things adhere right away, and then the wet adhesive makes it so that things are strong over the long term. Okay, so now we have got two pages that are open like that, and now we can start our decorating process, or our creating the actual elements on the page. Okay, so for page 1, we will need a piece of cardstock that measures 6 inches by 8.5. That's your A. Your B piece is going to be 8.5 by 11, and your C piece will measure 5 3/4 by 10 1/4. Okay, so get your scoreboard again. So we're going to score piece A at half on the 6-inch side. We're going to score B at 5.5 on the 11-inch side. And we're going to score C at 1/2 inch on the 5 3/4 inch side. And then we're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn, and we are going to score again at 3 3/8 and 6 7/8 on the 10 1/4 inch side. Okay, so we can put our scoreboard away. That's it for that one. Now we're going to add score tape. Let's start with the A piece. So again, on the valley side, the indented side, we're going to add score tape just to that 1/2 inch section, making sure that the adhesive does not touch the score line. The B piece does not need any score tape on it right now. The C piece, we are going to just put score tape on the 1/2 inch center, 1/2 inch section on the center part, and then we're going to cut off this whole part and that whole part. Okay, so up to the score lines here and here, we're going to cut off that, and we're going to cut off that. And while I'm at it, I'm going to miter the corner where the score tape is. Okay, so you should have a piece that looks like that. And then we'll also miter the corners of our A piece. And now we will fold and crease all of the score lines. There's A. B. And C. Okay, so now we can grab our pages again here. So the A piece is going to adhere onto the left side of your first base page. Okay, so we're going to put it on the left side of the base. So I want you to notice that you want it to go to the edge of the cardstock, but not into this. We've got that 1/4 inch gusset on either edge of our spine. The spine piece is 1/2 inch, and then we've got a 1/4 inch gusset here and here. So don't put your paper into that gusset. You want it just to be on the edge. And then your B piece, 1/2 of it will fit into that side pocket, and it will fold over that A piece. And we're going to add a magnet in a bit to keep that closed. And then your C piece is going to adhere into the center-ish of the front of the B. I mean, you can put it down a little bit. I think I have mine down a little ways. So I'm going to adhere mine about 2 1/4 inches down from the top of the B. But feel free to put it right in the center or wherever you would like it to go. I'm just making a mark for myself so I know where that's going. It's very, very faint, but just enough that I can see it. Okay, so you want it centered left to right on that B piece. And if you're following exactly what I'm doing, then we're going 2 1/4 inches down from the top of the B. Otherwise, you can put it right in the center or at the top or wherever you like, really. But I'm going to have mine right there. So when it opens up, it does that. Okay, so now we're going to add a couple sets of magnets, and then we're going to decorate this page, and then we'll move on to the next one. So I'm just going to put one set of magnets going from the back of the B piece to the front of the A. So I'm going to put just a small piece of score tape on the B here. And then I'm going to put 2 magnets magnetized together, so there's 2 of them there, onto that piece of score tape, and then another little piece of score tape. And then I'm going to make sure that this is aligned up with the A piece. And then close it up, and that will adhere the second magnet. Okay, so now you've got a magnet on either side, and I'm just going to put some score tape over top of those magnets just so they don't move. You want, whenever you're adding a magnet, you want to make sure that there's at least a ½ an inch of space all the way around so that when you add your pattern paper, there's room for the pattern paper to cover the magnet fully. Okay, so easy peasy, that is your page 1. We're going to put a swing tab down here or something of that nature. So I'm going to put a bit of my pattern paper on, and then I will come back to you and show you what I've done, and we can finish any extra bits together. Okay, so I have a few pieces down. I fussy cut out this dragon and put him here. I have cut one of the little sayings apart and backed it on chipboard. It says, if the sky could dream, it would dream of dragons. So I just cut that apart and backed it on chipboard and put that there. And then on the front here, I've got one of the small journaling cards. I'm just going to give it a little bit of an inking around the edge. I missed this one somehow. And then I want to put a swing tab to close this front part. So I've fussy cut these eggs, and then I've put a little hole right there. Okay, and now I'm going to place it down, and I've backed it on chipboard. I'm going to place it down here, and I'm going to take a pen and just mark where that hole is. Okay, and then I'm going to cut a hole. I haven't got anything on the back side of this, so I'm going to cut a hole right where that mark is. And then I'm going to use my brad. Put a brad through the hole there, and then put this through the page and open the tines on the other side. Okay, and now this will swing out of the way to open this up, and then it will swing back to close it. And I'm just going to put some score tape on the back of these tines just so they don't move or open up on us. Okay, and now we can add some pattern paper to the front of this part. Now I don't show most of me adding the pattern paper simply because there are so many pieces to this collection that I don't want you to feel like you have to use the exact pieces that I do. I didn't even use half of the collection in my whole project. There's so much in this amazing collection. So I want you to feel like you can kind of create your own masterpiece with the papers that you have in this pack. So I've left these two areas open for photos and just put some pattern paper there. All right, so close that back up like that. And then this opens to the side, but I want there to be something so you know that it opens. So I've cut a little piece of black ribbon, and I'm going to put some score tape on the end of it. This might be a little bit long. I'm going to cut it a little bit. It doesn't need to be quite this long. Okay, and then I'm going to take some score tape. I just folded it over there, folded it on itself, and then I'm just going to put some score tape on both sides at the end. And when you're, I don't give the measurements for the cutting the pattern paper because I want you to I mean, perhaps you put this right at the top, in which case you'd have a different size piece than I do. I did 2 separate pieces, one here and one here. There's so many options for the decorating part that I'd like to leave that up to you. Feel free to follow what I do if you'd like, but there's just so many possibilities. So I'm just going to put this on the back side just so you know that something happens there. So I wanted to kind of be in between the words and the dragon down here. Score tape off, doesn't want to stick over that. Now try not to put anything right over top of your magnet, except for the pattern paper, obviously, because you don't want anything too bulky there. You want the magnet to stay stuck. All right, and then I've got these 2 pieces that I'm going to put on the inside of this. I'm just going to use my ATG gun, but feel free to use whatever adhesive you like. So I made the page designs very specific to this collection, like these journal pages. So it was an 8.5 by 11 sheet. But when you cut them apart, they measure 5 1/4 by 8 1/8. So I made the pieces that go into it very, like just an 1/8 of an inch all around larger, so that there was a border, but they fit perfectly. So I tried to kind of design the pages with the sizes of the different elements of this collection in mind. And when you're matting, you just want to take a piece of the pattern paper that is an 1/8 of an inch smaller all the way around, so that you have a border like that. Okay, and then that's what I have on the back. All right, so when this goes back into the pocket and magnetizes in place, it looks like that. Okay, and then you open it up and open this up, and this is what I've got on the inside here. I just used a couple plain sheets of cardstock that I just inked really heavily, and then some elements from the cut parts, and I left this open on the side so you can stick a photo here and you can stick a photo underneath there. I just put adhesive right in the center. So I'll put this last one on here. So I do most of my like decorating now, but then I'll probably go over the whole album at the very end and see if there's any spots that I feel need a little bit more embellishing. But for now, this is what page 1 looks like. All right, so now we will get, we'll set this aside for a second, and we will cut our pieces for our second page. Okay, so page 2, we're going to need 1 A piece that measures 7 inches by 8.5. We'll need 2 B pieces. Come here, B pieces. 2 B pieces that measure 7.5 by 9 inches, and 1 C piece that measures 8 inches by 11. Okay, so those are your pieces for page 2. Get your scoreboard out. We will score A at 1/2 inch on the 7-inch side. Okay, and then we're going to rotate it a 1/4 turn either way, and we're going to score again at 1/2 inch and 8 inches on the 8.5 inch side, the long side. Okay, so you've got 3 score lines that look like that. You're going to score your B pieces at 1/2 inch on the 9-inch side. And then we're going to flip it over. So that 1/2 inch score line is still at the same spot. It's just showing the mountain, like the raised edge now instead of the valley. And we're going to score again at 5 inches. So the reason we flipped it over is that we're going to be folding these in opposite directions. Like this one's going to fold this way and the little score line's going to fold the opposite direction. And we always want to fold away from that indent. So I flip it over just to help keep the integrity of the paper. Because the fibers kind of break down as you score something. It like breaks the fibers. So this helps so that they're not broken down too much. Okay. So that's the B's, and then the C we're going to score at 5.5 on the 11-inch side. Okay, so those are your score lines. We can set this aside for a moment. We're going to fold and crease all of those score lines and add some score tape to our 1/2 inch sections. Bone folder, where are you? I need like a, you know, you have the Find Your Phone app. I need one for my bone folder. Good. How do I manage to do this? I lose it so quickly. There it is. Okie dokie. So, there's the C piece. And now with the B pieces, we're going to fold them in opposite directions. And on this one, we're going to fold all 3 of these lines. Guess we could probably have added our score tape first, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we're going to add score tape to all of those 1/2 inch sections. Okay, now we're going to miter the corners. I'm going to do the 2 B's together because they're the same. And then on the A piece, miter these 2 corners as normal, and then where they intersect, cut in at an angle until they meet and cut out at an angle. Okay, so it's kind of looks like that. Okay, and now we can bring our little album pages back in. We're going to open this up. So now we're on page 2. Okay, so your A piece, we're going to remove the adhesive from the sides first. Okay, and then fold up that bottom piece so that it adheres to itself just in the corners there. Okay, and then we're going to put a little bit of wet adhesive all the way around, and this is going to be a pocket. I guess I don't need my hair in there. It's not really necessary. Hair optional. And this is going to go right onto the bottom of the base page. Okay, so there is your pocket there. And now the C piece is what's going to go inside the pocket. And then the 2 B pieces, one will go at the top of the base page. Okay, so it flips down, but then also flips up. Just gonna get any extra adhesive out of there so it doesn't stick to something I don't want it to. And then the second C is going to adhere to the bottom of the pocket, and the two pieces will meet in the center. Okay, just like that. So I'm going to have magnets going from this part of each C to itself, and then also from the C's to the pocket. Okay, to keep it all closed. Now if there's ever a time where you want to do some other kind of closure, feel free. You don't have to do a magnet if you don't want to. Okay, and then on this one as well. Okay, and then also from the back side to the base. Okay, and the last set from the back side of the top C. So just a little bit of score tape, two magnets magnetized together, another piece of score tape. And close it up. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of score tape over top of each of those sets just so they stay put where I want them to stay. And then I will start decorating everything. Okay, and now you don't have to have just this one piece in the pocket. You can put a whole bunch of stuff in the pocket. It's a deep pocket, so you can have all kinds of things in there. Alright, so now I'm going to do some of the paper on there, and I'll come back and show you. Okay, so I'll show you what I have so far, and then we'll add a few of the things together. So on the front, this beautiful, I love this paper. I've got one of the cut apart little word things up there with some chipboard on it. So that folds down, place for a photo there. I might put another little embellishment there, I haven't decided. And then kind of mimicking on the other part there. And then you open it up, and we've got that there, the treasure chests, and then this is the pocket. So I'm just going to have a plain piece of blue going in the pocket there. So with the pocket you want at least minimum ½ inch inside the pocket so that your tags don't get stuck on anything. So slide that in a little bit and then let it adhere. For the inside, I've got some of the journal pages again decorating this, so that can go in the pocket. And then I've taken another one of the journal pages that I really liked, the dragon egg identification. I love that. I think that's pretty fantastic. And just blank on the back, so that can go in there as well. And then they've got one of the cut aparts is an envelope, so I thought that was quite cool. So what you do with this, I've cut it out, and then you just score. I'll just do it with you here. Score along this two sides. And then the top and the bottom, kind of where they start to curve in. Oops. You can do this on a scoreboard as well, but I just thought this was easier. All right, and then you want to fold in the two sides. And then fold up the bottom. Okay, and adhere the bottom just along the edge here so that it hits these two parts. So I'm going to put a little bit of score tape just along the edge of this bottom part. And also on the very bottom of these, the side bits. And fold that up. You just want to make sure that there's nothing adhering so that you want this to still open, right? And then this part folds down as the closure for the envelope. And then you can stick a secret message in there, or you could just cut up some of the ephemera and put it in there. So then you've got like a little envelope. I'm gonna ink up all the kind of inside bits like this. And along the, kind of along the center, make it kind of look a little bit distressed and grungy. Okay, and then that can tuck inside your pocket as well, or you could, you can kind of stick it anywhere really. I'm gonna maybe tuck it inside here. And then they also have these kinds of pockets. So it looks like this when you cut it out. So you'd fold along here and fold along here to have a little corner pocket. I think I'm going to use this dragon one with the treasure. So I've just backed it on some black cardstock just to make it a little bit stronger. And then I'm just going to fold on the two sides here. And you'll just want to snip off this little bit here that sticks out. And then put a little bit of score tape or wet adhesive on these two bits. And then you've got a little side pocket. Or a little corner pocket, I guess. You don't have to back it on the black cardstock. It was just an extra little thing that I did. Okay, and then I'm just going to stick it in the corner down here of this pocket. So then I haven't got anything cut out yet to put in here, but I'll cut out one of the pieces of ephemera and stick it in there. You can even use the little envelope and stick it in there like that if you like. Okay, and I'm thinking I'd like to maybe add something else down here to signify that this opens. I might use this dragon cut apart and back it on chipboard. I haven't quite decided yet. It kind of almost blends in too much, so I'm not quite sure. But I'm thinking I might do that. But I haven't decided, so I'm going to leave it for now. I might do that. And yeah, so that is page 2. Feel free to pause it at any point in time if you'd like to see closer what I've done with the paper. And now we can get our pieces ready for page 3. Okay, so page 3. Your A piece is 3.5 inches by 7.5 inches. Let's get some of this out of the way so it's not quite so distracting. Your B piece is 7 inches by 8 inches. You'll need 2 C pieces, and they measure 6 by 6 inches, and 2 D pieces, and they measure 4 3/4 by 6. Okay, so those are your pieces. Get those cut out and bring in your scoreboard. So your A piece, we're going to score at half on the 3.5 inch side. The B piece, we're going to score at half on the 8 inch side. The 6 inch, the C pieces, we're going to score at half on either side. They're a square, so whichever side you choose. And the D pieces, we are going to score at half on the 4 3/4 inch side. Okay. Now we will add score tape again to all of those 1/2 inch sections, and then crease them all and then miter them all. Little assembly line style. So remember to put it on the valley side, the indented side. Okay, and now miter all of the corners where the score tape is, and fold and crease all of the score lines. Hey, buddy. That was a brief view of tundra. Once again, I've lost my bone folder. Oh, there it is. I see it. I see it. All the mess is somewhat pushed to the side. There's a lot of stuff on my desk right now. Okay, once all of your pieces are to that stage, we're going to bring back our album. And our A piece is going to go at the top of the base page. Just like that. And then the B piece is going to go on the right edge of the base, right here on the lower half. So it's going to meet the bottom of the page but be on the right hand side. Okay, and then we've got our C pieces. They are going to adhere to the left and right edges of the B. So one on the left so that it meets the bottom, and then the other one on the right. Okay, and we're going to fold them, close them so that the right C piece is on top. And then we are going to adhere the D pieces to the left and the right of that top C piece. Okay, just like that. So you've got the two D pieces that open like this. And then you've got the C's, which open like this. And then you've got the B. And then the A closes so that it meets all the rest of them. But when this A is closed, this whole part is kind of locked down. Okay, so now we're going to add some magnets. So I'm going to add a magnet. I'm going to have the right again over the left. You can do it either way though. It really doesn't matter actually. Whichever way you would like to do it. I think I'm going to have the right over the left, but it really doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to add one set of magnets going from the right D to the left D. Bum-ba-da-bum. Okay, and then we'll have one going from the right C to the left C. Again, if you would like to do a different kind of closure, feel free. And then I'm going to have one going from the A to that. There's like a 1-inch section of the B piece here. So I'm actually going to put it on the B just to make sure that there's room all around it for a piece of pattern paper. These magnets are so strong that they want to just stay together. There we go. And one going from the B to the base. Okay, so that is your page 3. I'm going to put some tape covering each of these sets of magnets, and then I will start kind of doing some of the paper, and I'll come back and do some of it with you. Okay, so here's what I have so far. I've got some of the blue paper with one of the small little journaling cards here. And then just some of the pattern paper there. Some spots for photos. And then more of the blue paper here. I don't have anything on the insides of these yet. So I was thinking they're perfect for 4x6 photos. So I maybe don't want to put full pieces of paper. However, I want to cover up this magnet. So I had this scrap. I'm always going through my scraps. I try not to waste anything if I can help it. So I've got this scrap of the map paper. So I was thinking I'd put it there to cover the magnet. But it's not quite long enough to do, because I want it to be symmetrical on either side, and it's not quite long enough to do that. So here's my solution. I'll put it down. Okay, and then I've got this spot along the top. So I was thinking I could use another one of the little sayings that they have to put along the top of that. And then there's still room for a photo. Alright, so I've kind of cut them all apart into strips. So maybe use that one, and then let's see what else we have. And I mean, I'm doing this fairly, cleanly. You can totally distress this more, even burn the edges of some of the papers, or kind of crinkle them up, make them look a little bit older. Because I mean, if it's a dragon book, it's going to be really, really old. So I mean, you can definitely make this look a lot more aged if you like. Okay, so that fits perfect. So I like that. And then I'm going to do the same kind of thing over on this side. I have a thing for symmetry. Doesn't have to be symmetrical, but I like symmetry. I think there's one more saying. Okay, cool. I like the way that looks. I mean, you can do whatever you so desire. And then up here, so I wanted you to know that this lifted up. So I had these pull tab things in my stash. So I poked a hole just above where the magnet is. And I'm going to push that in there. Now, two things. First, I've already put the pattern paper on the backside. So I could have tried to peel it up, but this adhesive is pretty strong, so I didn't know if that would work. So I'm going to put it on there. And then I'm just going to use one of the pieces of ephemera. I mean, I've got so many cool pieces, so I'm going to use something. I haven't figured out exactly what yet. Something right there to kind of cover up the tines. So as soon as I figure out what that is. So something is going to go there. Now, if you're concerned about, you want to make sure that if you are putting something that has a metal bit that sticks out, that there is room when you close your album, that it is not going to hit, because I don't want it to hit this and scratch it. So, and I think there's going to be room that they don't hit each other because it's in the center and there's a 1/2 inch gusset. So I think I'm going to be okay. And so then it's easier to pull this up. And then this whole thing opens, and I've done a bit of paper piecing over here. And over here I'm just going to do simple blue and a spot for photos, because I want to make sure there's lots of spots for photos, because you might not want to cover up the paper. I mean, there's some spots that are have a lot of space, you could use them for photos, but a lot of the images are really cool and you might not want to cover them up. So I just wanted to show you that, even if you have an idea and you're like, oh no, I already did this, so I can't do this other thing. There's always a way to make it work. It's amazing how many cool things have come out of mistakes that I've made. There we go. Cool. I'm thinking I might put this guy down here and just kind of adhere him in the middle so that there is space on either side. I'm not sure about that. I haven't decided quite yet, so I'm going to leave that for now, I think. All right, so there we go. That is page 3. All right, and now we'll get our pieces ready for our last page, and then we can make our cover. Okay, so the pieces you will need for page 4. Your A piece is 6.5 inches by 8.5 inches. You'll need 2 B pieces, and they measure 4.25 by 7 inches. You'll need 2 C pieces, and they are 8.5 by 11. And 2 D pieces, and they are 1.5 inches by 8.5 inches. Okay, so those are all your pieces. Grab your scoreboard, and we're going to score piece A. Actually, no, we're not going to score piece A. Piece A doesn't need any scoring at all. Piece B, we're going to score at 1/2 inch on the 7-inch side. So do that to both of them. Excellent. Your C pieces are going to be scored at 5.5 on the 11-inch side, so right down the middle. And your 2 D pieces, so we're going to score 1 at 3/4 on the 1.5 inch side, so right down the center, lengthwise. The other one, score at 3/4 and at 7/8. So there's a tiny little gusset. It's okay that these aren't completely equal on either side. All right, so that's all the scoring we need to do. All right, now we are going to add our score tape. So nothing on the A because there's no score lines. The B's get score tape on that 1/2 inch section. And then I'm just going to miter the corners as I go. Okay, and then nothing, no score tape on the C pieces. The D's, we are going to put score tape on both sides of the score line. It's getting late. Words are getting hard. So make sure it's not covering the score line, but on either side of it. Same with the other one. Fabulous, and we're gonna miter those as well, so just don't cut into that, the one that has the little gusset, don't cut into the gusset. Just go from the edge of it. Okay. Okay, get those out of the way and fold and crease all of your score lines. Okay, and now bring your album back in. We're working on the last page now. So set the A piece aside for a second. The 2 B pieces, there's still that pocket right here, right? So we're going to kind of tuck these B pieces inside that pocket, and they are going to adhere to the back side. Okay? Okay, so we're just going to tuck it in. And then the other one is going to go underneath it. So I'm just kind of hooking it in. Okay, so when you open these up, you can still get into the pocket, and they are both, see if I can show you, they're both adhered right there. So one's right there, one's right there. So the pocket can still open, and they are adhered against the back wall of it. Okay? And then your C pieces. So the C's will be adhered together via the D hinges. Take your D hinge that has the gusset in it, and we are going to adhere it to the far right edge of the base page with the opening to the left. So make sure that gusset is lined up with the edge of the page. Okay, and then we're going to take one of the C pieces, and it's going to kind of just fold over the front of that C. Okay, so This is just going to fold over the front of the C. So you want the C to be lined up with the very edge of the gusset. Okay, so the edge of the C is lined up with this part of the gusset. Okay. The other hinge you're going to have this way, and it's going to adhere to the back side of this, and then we're basically making an accordion, so it's going to go like that. Let's see if I can move this over. So it's going to adhere here, and then the other one is going to adhere to the other side of it, so that on the back side it will look like this, and the hinge will be attached to it like that. I hope that makes sense. Maybe the easiest way to do it is this: to fold this in and kind of have it have the hinge folded. Maybe that's an easier way to explain it. So in this case, the opening of the hinge is facing towards the right. Putting it right on the very edge of the back of that first C piece. Remove the tape backing. And now this one is going to adhere. So the opening of the hinge is facing the right. The opening of the second C is facing the left. Okay, and then it all folds up like that. So when you open it, it looks like that, and then you can kind of just like pull the whole thing out. So it's like this one big long accordion piece. Okay, and now the only magnets we need here, oh, you're probably wondering, what about the A piece? The A piece is will just go inside this pocket. It's just an extra tuck inside the pocket, like a tag. Okay, so we just need 2 sets of magnets going from the back of the A's to the front of the C. Alright, so once you have 2 sets of magnets on there, you can add your pattern paper. I'll put some of it on, and then come back to you and show you what it is I'm doing, and then our next step is to work on our cover. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so this is what I have so far for our last page. I think I'm still going to adhere something here that kind of like acts as a pull tab of some sort, but I haven't decided what yet. And then otherwise, I've just got a bunch of the journaling pages on here. So, I mean, you can leave them blank for photos, you can do whatever you desire for that. I haven't put anything else in the pocket yet, but I plan to do that. Now I am going to create the cover. And then after we create our cover, then we can do some work on the inside front and back covers. So for the cover, you will need 2 pieces of chipboard that measure 8 1/4 by 9 1/2. So 2 of those, and 1 piece of chipboard that is 1 1/2 by 9 1/2 inches. That's going to be your spine. And then we're going to need a piece of Tyvek This one isn't absolutely necessary. You could do without it, and you could just use a piece of cardstock, but the Tyvek is pretty awesome for keeping things strong. So this is 5 inches across by 9.5 inches long. And then we're gonna need 2 pieces of chipboard, or sorry, cardstock to cover these. And they are going to be 11.5 inches high. And then you need to you're gonna glue them together so that they make a piece that is about 21 inches across. So I'm going to just take a couple strips of score tape. You want it to overlap, you know, around an inch-ish. Okay, I'm gonna remove the score tape, add just a little bit of wet adhesive, because you want to make sure this stays together. Okay, and then once you have that done, add double-sided tape or wet adhesive, either one, to the back sides of your 2 chipboard pieces. So we're going to set these. You want about an inch all the way around here, so I'm just going to put some wet adhesive on here. I might do a little bit of double-sided tape as well, just so it stays in place and doesn't move around at all. So just kind of do the double-sided tape around the edge, I think. Okay, so adhere this down. Okay, and then you're going to put the spine piece down, but you're going to leave about almost 1/4 of an inch in between. And then do the same with this last piece, leaving about 1/4 of an inch. And then over here, just cut off any excess. You want about an inch on this side and then cut off whatever's left. Okay, so once you are to this point, we are going to put score tape all the way around the outside edge of the chipboard, or on the cardstock, but outside the chipboard. Okay, and then I'm going to miter the corners, just cut off a bit at an angle, like we did on the pockets in the album. Okay, and now I'm going to kind of like bend the whole thing to try and, like, it's almost like training the paper where you want it to go, so it will bend easier as we move it. So I'm going to start with the top. I'm going to remove the backing off the score tape, add some wet adhesive, and then fold it on over the whole cover. Kind of start in the center and then kind of smooth it all the way out. Do the same on the opposite side. Okay. And now I'm just going to kind of tuck in the corners. I'm just taking the edge of a pair of scissors and just kind of tucking in the corner, just so it doesn't create like a pointy edge when you fold up the shorter sides. So I'm just taking up the blunt edge of a pair of scissors and just kind of pushing in the corner. Okay. And now I'm going to do the same thing to the two shorter sides here. So you can stop here, or you can, you can add pattern paper to the front, but I'm going to wrap the entire thing again in a faux leather that I made. Right now I'm just sticking a ruler into the crease here and folding this up just to help train it to bend where we want it to bend. Okay, so that's essentially your cover. Not sure if this is going to be big enough. So I made this piece of like a faux leather. I made it out of just a paper grocery bag. I will have a separate tutorial on how I made this faux leather. There is also a different way of doing it on the VectoriaDesigns YouTube channel. So both ways work really cool. So you can check them out. Okay. So there we go. So I've covered mine in that faux leather. You can also simply use pattern paper on the front cover and the front, the back, and the spine instead of covering the whole thing again. Now I'm going to put on that piece of Tyvek to cover over the spine. And then I'm also going to use my ruler to get right into the creases. Okay, so once your Tyvek is on, it should look something like this. And now we're going to do our inside, front, and back covers. The back and the front are going to mirror each other, so I'm going to give you the measurements for each of them at the same time. Okay. So your A pieces, you will need 2 of them, and they will measure 8.5 by 9 3/8. You'll need 2 B pieces, and they measure 6 by 8.5. And then you'll need 2 C pieces, and they measure 5.5 by 7.5. Okay, so grab your scoreboard one last time. We are going to score the A pieces at half on the 8.5 inch side. And then we'll score the B pieces at half on the 6 inch side. And the C pieces will score at half on the 7.5 inch side. Okay, perfect. Put your scoreboard away. Put score tape on all those 1/2 inch sections. Miter the corners. Okay, miter the corners. Okay, get those out of the way. Now fold and crease all of your score lines. Okay, fabulous. Now bring your cover back in. So the A is going to adhere to the left of the inside cover on the left-hand side, and it's going to adhere to the right on the right-hand side. Okay, now your B pieces are going to adhere opposite the side that you put the A pieces on. Okay, so I didn't realize my camera had unexpectedly stopped recording. So just show you quickly what I did here. So the B pieces go opposite the A pieces. So this is the B for the back, and this is the B for the front. So it's just going on the opposite side, centered up and down. And then the C pieces are going to go at the top of each of the B pieces. Okay, and I've already got a magnet on that one. I'm going to put a magnet on going from the other C to B, and then we're also going to add magnets going from the B's to the A's, and then we can add our pattern paper on those. Okay, so now that you've got the magnets on, we can add pattern paper here. I'm going to do that, most of it off camera, and I'll come back and show you. And then we can put our pages into our album. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I know this is turning into a very long tutorial, but we're almost done, I promise. I'm just going to quickly show you what I've done paper-wise on the inside front and back covers, and then we'll add our pages, and then we're pretty much done. Okay, so on this side, I'll just go quickly. Again, you can do whatever it is you would like to do on here. And then over here, I just have some deep green cardstock that I had in my stash. And then on this side, oh, haven't done it yet, but I'm just gonna put some plain paper for a photo there. And then just like that. Okay, and so now we can add our pages. So I'm just going to put some score tape and wet adhesive like I've been doing all along on the 1/2" spine part of our pages. Okay, make sure they're the right side up, and then plunk them down right in the center of your spine. Okay, and it's going to take a minute for the glue to adhere, so you might want to clip them for a minute. Once your glue is dry, just go in with a hole punch and punch a hole at near the top and near the bottom of the spine, and put a brad in there. It's hard to see the brads, but they are there. They're kind of a little bit camouflaged. And that's just for some extra security. And then I'll put something on the spine to kind of cover up those brads. And then I would just so you, I don't know if you noticed, but I did put a piece of pattern paper in the center between the pages. And I'll also put some paper on this little bit and this little bit here. And then you just have to embellish your pages and do your cover. The cover is very up to you what you want to do with it. That's your own decorative process. I will have a complete walkthrough of this album on my own channel, Lunar Sun Creations. So if you're watching this tutorial on my channel, I'll have it linked down below. If you're watching it on the VectoriaDesign channel, then you can head on over to my channel to watch the full walkthrough. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much to VectoriaDesigns for collaborating with me on this project. I think it turned out pretty awesome. So I'm just gonna do some finishing touches and then you're done. There will be an extra tutorial for a box that will enclose this as well as a small journal. And today we are going to be making a box to hold our Dragon Treasure album that some of you may have made. And this box is sized perfectly to fit that album. And there will also be a little journal as well that will fit in the lid of the album. So I'm just going to quickly go over the materials that we're going to need and then we'll get going. So we'll need some scissors, some wet adhesive and double-sided tape. You'll need a bunch of black cardstock like scraps. I mean, I'm just using my scraps. We're just going to be using the cardstock for strips, so the widest it needs to be is a couple inches, and that's it. So if you have a bunch of strips, then perfect. Otherwise, you'll just need probably about 3-4 sheets of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. You will need quite a bit of chipboard. I mean, we're making a box, so we will need quite a bit of chipboard. And then we'll need a little bit of Tyvek. Tyvek, you can get Tyvek envelope size. This is one that's I've just cut apart. It's a non-rippable material. It's really, really strong, but really, really thin. You can cut into it, but you can't rip it. So it's perfect for areas where we'll be getting a lot of bend and use. If you don't have Tyvek, you can use cardstock, but eventually it does break down over time. Another option is duct tape. I found that can also work, so you might want to try that. Lastly, you will need your paper trimmer and your scoring board with a bone folder and scoring tool. I think that is everything. You might want a latch to close the box. It doesn't have to have a latch, but if you have one in your stash, then that'd be great. And then obviously we will be covering it with the VectoriaDesigns Dragon Treasure paper collection. And these are the pages that we're going to use to make the journal. Okay, so I'm going to get all of this out of my way and then we will start creating. Okay, so to create the bottom part of the box, you're going to need one piece of medium weight chipboard. I've actually doubled my chipboard up to make it a little bit thicker. Don't know if that's really catching on camera. It is about maybe 3 millimeters thick, something like that, 3-4 millimeters thick. Okay, so you'll need one piece for the bottom that measures 10.5 inches by 9.25 inches, and you can see the centimeters there. Okay, so that's your bottom piece, and you're going to need, it's actually going to be sitting this way, so the top and bottom will be 9.25 by 2.25 inches. Okay, so you'll need 2 of those. And then the sides, you'll also need 2 of those, and they measure 10.5 by 2.25 inches. Okay, so it's going to sit like this. All right, so these are all going to be up. All right, and now we need a whole bunch of strips, like cardstock strips that are going to be used to put this all together. So you're going to need, if I can get them off my desk to show you, you'll need 6 strips. So all of the strips I'm going to tell you throughout the whole tutorial are 1.5 inches wide, which is 3.8 centimeters. Okay, and you'll need 6 of these that are 10.5 inches long, so that's 26.6 centimeters. You will need 6 of them that are 9.25 inches long, so that's 23.5 centimeters. So we're basically matching them to the lengths of our sides and everything. And then you'll also need 8 pieces that are 2.25 inches long, and that is 5.7 centimeters. And these are going to be the ones that are going to go in the corners on the inside and the outside. Okay, so for all of those, we are going to score down the center at 3/4 inch. So I'm going to get my scoreboard. So every single one of these is going to be scored right down the middle at 3/4 inch. Okay, so do that to every single one on the 1.5 inch side, and then we'll come back and we'll put some score tape on them. Okay, so 3/4 all the way down lengthwise to every one. Okay, so once you have all of those strips all scored at 3/4 down the middle, we're going to add some score tape on either side of each of those score lines. Okay, and then we are going to fold and crease them. So, and I'm also going to use wet adhesive in conjunction with this score tape. So you want to make sure that you're not covering over the actual score line. You want there to be a space between the score line and the score tape. Okay, I'm going to quickly fold these. So these will all be on the inside. Okay, so move these 4 pieces out of the way for a second, and you're going to take 2 of the shorter pieces and 2 of the longer pieces, and they are going to go like this. Okay, so we're going to take off 1/2 of the score tape and add some wet adhesive. Okay, so we're going to put it behind the side here. Make sure it's even, and you want it to be fairly close to the score line but not going over it. And we're going to do the same thing on the other sides. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to take those 4 pieces, start with one of the long ones, and we're going to sit it on top of the very edge. So sit it right on top of it, remove this other half, and then fold it up against the side of this long piece. So put the long piece right up against the very edge, and then fold this piece up and stick it along the side. Okay, so it will be like that. Okay, we're going to do that to all 4 sides. It's okay if it falls down a little bit. We're going to fix that in a second when we add more pieces to it, more strips to it. So you can use just wet adhesive if you want to, but then you really have to hold on to it until it's completely dry. Whereas with the combination of the score tape and the wet adhesive, the score tape allows it to stick right away, and then as the glue dries, then it becomes a really strong bond. Perfect. Now we're going to take the 4 little pieces that have the score tape on the inside, and we're going to put these at each one of the corners like that. Okay, so take the score tape off both sides. And put a little bit of wet adhesive, and then grab a corner, any corner, and pull these up so they meet, and adhere the strip onto the corner and just kind of hold it and push it in there. Okay, and then it will look like that, and it will hold those 2 pieces up. We're going to do the same for all 4 corners. Okay, so it's starting to turn into a box. Now we are going to put our the strips that are with the adhesive on the outside. We're going to put those in like that. Okay, now we'll do the 4 corners on the inside. Okay, so far so good. Okay, now we just have to put the last strips along here just to finish them off. These are just aesthetic, these are just making a nice clean edge. Okay, so there is the bottom of your box. Now let's get all of our pieces ready for the top of the box. Okay, so for the top of the box, you will need a piece of chipboard that is 10 3/4 inches by 9 3/8 inches. And in centimeters, that's it in centimeters, 27.3 by 23.8. Okay, and then you will need two pieces that are 9 3/8 inches by 1 inch. Centimeters is 23.8 by 2.54 centimeters, so two of those. And then one that is 10 3/4 inches by 1 inch. Centimeters is that 27.3 by 2.54 centimeters. So those are your chipboard pieces. For the cardstock pieces, you will need 3 pieces that are 10 3/4 inches by 1.5 inches. So 10 3/4, so what is that? 27.3 centimeters by 3.8 centimeters. So you'll need 3 of those. You'll need 6 pieces that are 9 3/8 by 1.5. So that would be 23.8 centimeters by 3.8 centimeters, and you need 6 of those. Then you will need 6 of your tiny little strips, and they are 1.5 by 1 inches. So that is, what is 1 inch? 2.54. So 2.54 by 3.8 centimeters, and you'll need 6 of those. And then you'll also need 2 Tyvek strips, and they measure 10 3/4 inches by 1.5 inches. Okay, so get all of those cut, and then we're going to do the exact same thing that we did with the first set of cardstock strips. We are going to score all of them at 3/4 down lengthwise on the 1.5 inch side. So we're going to score them all at 3/4, 1.9 centimeters down the middle. Okay, so I'll just show you a couple and then I'll do the rest off screen. Okay, so lengthwise like that. For the little tiny ones, they're also on the 1.5 inch side, so they look like that. Okay, so I'm going to do the rest of these off screen and I'll be right back. So once you've got all your pieces scored down the center, we're going to do the same process as we did with the bottom half and put score tape on either side of that score line. And then we're going to follow pretty much the same steps as we did with the bottom for the top. So once you've got your score tape on all of them, you can pause the video if you want to catch up. And here they are. Okay, so we just have one top piece, because the other part is going to be attached right here. And so this piece is going to like overhang the front. Okay. So put one of our pieces on the left side here. Oh, I shouldn't have put that second bit on yet. Oops. Okay, well, I might as well put this on now because I've got the glue on there. Okay, and then do two of the short pieces. Okay, now add your little pieces to the outside corners, the two outside corners here. Okay, and now we'll add the two inside bits here. Almost done. We're almost on the lid anyway. I'm going to add the inside bits here first, and then do the last bit. so these are going to go around these edges here. Okay, so your last two pieces are going to cover the open edge of your chipboard. Okay, and then our last step is to add the top part to our bottom part. So we are going to do that via the two Tyvek strips that we cut. Now if you don't have Tyvek, then you can use duct tape. You can just use maybe some doubled up cardstock. But you want something that's fairly strong. Okay, so I'm going to adhere the Tyvek to the back side. I mean, choose whichever side you want. It could be the right or the left. So I've taken half the backing off, and then I'm going to add the other half to our, we're going to kind of put our lid on like this, and then kind of fold the Tyvek over like that. And this will ensure that it will open nicely. And now, so there needs to be like a space in between. And now we're going to put the other half of the Tyvek. Oh, I forgot to add wet adhesive to that. Let's make sure to do it on this one. Okay, so now this one's going to go on the inside, so part of it will go on the inside of the lid. And if it's a tiny bit too long, I've cut this one a tiny bit too long, so trim just a smidge. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of lift it up and tuck all that in. Okay, and there is your box. All right, and if you want to, you can add if you want to add a latch onto here, you might need to add another piece so that, see, there's a difference in height, see, between this one and this one, because the lid has to go over top of the bottom, right? So if you wanted to add a latch and you needed this to be level, you might have to add one more piece of chipboard right here so that your latch part is level and flat like that. Okay. But now I'm going to get all my dragon pattern paper, and I'm going to decorate my box and cover it. Just gonna add a bit more glue on this one. For some reason it's not sticking. So So I'm going to decorate my box. You can do as I do, but I encourage you to decorate how you want to decorate. You might be using a different VectoriaDesigns paper pack for this project, so you might not have even the papers that I'm going to use. But I'm going to put most of the paper on, and then I will come back and show you slowly what I've done. I'm literally just going to be cutting pieces to fit each size, just a tiny bit smaller than what it's covering. Okay, so I'm going to get that happening and I'll be right back. Okay, so let me show you what I have done on my box. I am going to maybe embellish it just a little bit more, but I'm not going to do a whole lot to it. So I've got this textured paper from Prima Marketing, some artisan leather, like fake leather paper. So I used that for quite a bit of the little bits and pieces, because the 8.5 by 11 sheets are not quite wide enough to fit the whole cover, so you have to do a bit of paper piecing on the sides. So you can pause it at any point in time if you wanted to see exactly what I've done. So here is just the one of the large sheets. I just cut it into pieces. On the back is that, and then on the inside. So on the inside I've got just a very distressed beige paper, and then I loved this one, so I didn't want to cut into it, so I put that on the very bottom. And then over here again some paper piecing because they're not quite wide enough. Okay, so that's what I've done, and this is the album here, and it fits perfectly inside. And then we're going to do one last thing. I want to make a little journal that's going to sit over in the lid. Okay, so let's do that part now. So I've taken all of the journaling pages and I've printed them on just like it's a recycled copy paper. And so this is what they look like to start on the 8.5 by 11. So you have to cut off the borders. Okay, so I did that. And then I scored, each one of them has this like perfect section right in between the pages. So I just scored a 1/4 inch gusset in between all of them. Okay, so at the center of all of them is a 1/4 inch gusset. And then I put one piece front and back on a piece of cardstock just to give it a little bit more structure. And then I'm going to poke, well not poke, but I'm going to punch 2 holes with my crocodile in the top and the bottom. So make sure it's right in the center there. Keep it steady, all lined up. Okay, and now I'm just gonna put brads through that. Brads. And I know all the junk journalers out there who are looking at this, they're gonna be like, that's not real, that's not a real journal. Nope, it's not. I'm just doing a jimmy-rigged version. Super quick and easy. You can add more pages if you like. You can do this with the traditional sewing of the binding, but I am just doing it this way and I am happy about that. Quick and easy. Okay, so now we've got these brads though on the opposite side, like on the little spine here. So we need one more kind of cover on top of this. So I'm going to put a little bit of score tape all the way along this spine part. And then I've got these two pieces that I'm going to adhere to another piece of the cardstock, and then this is going to be the front of my journal. I might do a little ribbon closure as well, I think. Yes, okay, so I'm going to get a piece of cardstock. Okay, I'm going to score it in the center first, I think. So it's an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. Oh, I don't want the cutter, I want the scoreboard. Okay, so I'm going to score a gusset in the center of, I'm going to go just over 1/4 inch. I might go a 1/2 inch actually. Yeah, I'm going to do a 1/2 inch gusset. So I am scoring it at 5 1/4 and 5 3/4. Okay, so now I can put my two pieces on here. Okay, so I've got this brown sheer ribbon that I'm going to use to act as a closure for the journal. So I'm going to put a little strip of score tape along both sides of both halves of my journal here. It's not quite in the middle. Let's try and get it in the center, shall we? That looks better. Okay. Okay, now I'll put these on. Okay, I am going to sacrifice this front and back because I decided that I want this to really be sturdy as a cover, so I want the double thickness of the cardstock. So I'm going to put adhesive all over the front and the back. If you can put I shouldn't have put this paper on the first wow, words. This outer part of the cardstock, I shouldn't have put any pattern paper on it. I wish I'd left it blank. C'est la vie, it's done now, but in hindsight, don't do that. Because I would like this to be really sturdy as a cover. So I am gluing both the black pieces of cardstock together to create a sturdier cover. Okay, and then I'm going to tie this up and then cut off what I don't need. Okay, and feel free to add like some, tea stained papers or other papers and stuff inside here. I'm going to put this piece on the spine. Okay, so there is your journal. Now we need a way to put it into our box. So here's my thought. I want it to sit right here. Okay, so I've got one of these journaling cards backed in some chipboard. Now I'm going to take that same brown ribbon and I'm going to do a crisscross of the ribbon on the back side. Okay, so doing a strip lengthwise and a strip going across like this. And again, I'm not sure if that's in the middle. Okay, now remove the tape, backing. Okay, and then we'll run a line of ribbon across. I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing it, but it's always better to have too much than too little, so it's kind of what I go with. Okay, and now we're going to add adhesive all over the back here. Okay, and going to make sure none of the ribbons get stuck behind, and we're going to put that down into our top of our cover here. Okay, and then our journal is just going to sit right in there like that, and all of our ribbons are going to come up and hold it together. And if you prefer, you could do a pocket or something to keep the journal in. I just wanted a quick and easy way that still looked cool. So this is what I thought would be awesome. If this is too much ribbon for you, then feel free to do your own thing. Or if you want, you could just do the ribbon on this part and not do a ribbon closure for the actual journal itself. Totally up to you. Or you could always, if it looks like too much ribbon right now, you can always tuck this ribbon in underneath so the ribbons aren't getting confused in your brain. I don't know. Alright, I think it looks cool, so I'm going with it. And there we go. That is, it all closes up nice, and that is your exclusive album and box and journal dragon treasure combo. So feel free to do any other embellishing if you like. I feel like it might need some metal, so I might put a little bit of metal embellishments of some kind, and then it'll be done. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and thank you again to VectoriaDesigns for the collab, and I'll see you again soon. Alright, bye! Have a good day!